Last summer, the United States had one of the very, very few rebellions in its history. 6 blocks of downtown Seattle formed an anarchist state that declared independence from the United States of America. They fought with the authorities alongside demanding the abolition of the police in general. Roving bands of protesters looted the city. Their utopian state literally collapsed into a dictatorship run by a SoundCloud rapper in the first couple hours, and they ran out of food within the first day. At the same time erecting literal shrines to George Floyd. Shockingly, the reason it survived so long was that they were supported by the mayor of Seattle, who refused to evict the rebels. Left-wing media, in turn, reported this case in a very skewed way, describing the revolt as like a block party or peaceful protests. Some of my friends in Canada and Europe say it was barely even reported over there.
This was complemented by riots across the country. I'm sure lots of people have similar stories, but my friends in Philadelphia saw people use dynamite to blow up ATMs, widespread looting, fires, and breaking cars in wealthy downtown areas.
One of my friends from Richmond, Virginia told me that their police station was burned down, as well as literal buses in the street.
These riots and rebellions, which were largely supported and never denounced by the mainstream left-wing media, were based around the murder of a single black man in Minnesota.
What provoked an otherwise rational society to behave in this manner?
The social justice movement likes to say that if they had more authority, they'd be able to fix the systemic problems, but from looking at real-world evidence, that's clearly not the case. There are plenty of areas that have been under the control of social justice ideologues and have been for a while. However, as a good example, look at the American West Coast, which has incredibly high inequality, still has a good deal of racial segregation, what amounts to regressive and classist policies like extremely strict housing laws, which hurt the lower classes, as well as being so negative for businesses as to weaken their economies, and crippling problems like homelessness and drug use.
I mean, as an example, look at the city of Los Angeles, which effectively stopped enforcing rule of law, and so mass robberies occurred in this train area, effectively turning it into a hellscape.
It's not a coincidence that people are leaving from blue states going to red ones at a really fast rate right now. 20 years ago, the West Coast was extremely creative, pleasant, and prosperous, so much so that it became the center of the future tech revolution. However, as left-wing ideologues seized control of these states, it precipitated their decline. Alternatively, look at Canada, where as radical leftists gain more and more power, they've pushed for authoritarian policies as leftists do every time. Which takes us to the main point. The social justice movements are predicted by what will give the college-educated more work. There's a brilliant historian named Peter Turchin who created a computer model that's been able to predict when societies divide and fall into civil wars across history. The driving factors are wage stagnation with rising cost of living and inequality, which means there's more competition and desperation for fewer good jobs. This pressure means that societies are split among different factions that want more jobs and influence for people like them. Examples of this across history include the English Civil War, the fall of the Roman Republic, the Russian Revolution, and I could name like 20 more. However, it's exactly what's happening in the modern world today. In modern America, the divides between the college-educated left and the right, who is a coalition of non-college-educated groups like the military, church, and businessmen. You can predict social justice's actions based off what gives people with college degrees more money and influence. Defund the police is giving influence to college-educated social workers over the police. The diplomacy emphasis is giving it to college-educated diplomats over the military. Regulation of business is giving college-educated bureaucrats power over capitalists. And social justice theory is college professors having moral authority over traditional religion. From what we've seen so far in looking at their actions, social justice isn't driven primarily by a genuine desire to help the downtrodden, since their policies have been universally ineffective, but keep on being pushed for without question since it's inside the self-interest of the college-educated classes. Social justice merely uses concern for oppressed groups as a way of creating policies that are good for them. Social justice merely uses concern for oppressed groups as a way of creating policies that are good for them.